Fundamental changes if you have a very basic Geki Sai Dai Ichi is that Geki Sai Dai Ni will focus a little bit more on open hand techniques, which is the obvious thing, because you've got introduction to Hike-uke or kake-uke, and mawashi-uke or toraguchi. And also elevation in timing from move stop, move stop, move stop at a basic level to something that resembles more of a flow. I'm talking about this in terms of progression for a beginner. If you're a senior, you generally are not going to highlight move stop, move stop. Your kata is going to be a continuous movement from beginning to end with short moments of focus and then a shift into the next movement, because we're thinking that the kata is more fluid and more alive. Okay, it's not as much standing and looking pretty. When you're standing and you're looking pretty, chances are you're doing something that is more for the referee. And in this case, we're then talking about competitive kata. Please don't use my katas for competitive kata. They will not do well. I like kata that is a little bit more in line with the ideas of combat. Okay, so Geki Sai Dai Ni. At the end of the strike, after the first kiai point, the first punch, or first kiai point, the first strike, the first kiai point, the first elbow, those are all different kiai points that are commonly used, we change our block. So usually stepping to the back, stepping through, and there is a Hike-uke or kake-uke. Okay? Some schools emphasize loud breathing in this instance. In my school, we are not doing loud breathing, except as we learn. Thereafter, the breathing should be not audible, so that it's still there, but it's not loud. Many questions about the position of this hand. So, if I'm standing like this, some schools have a very, very bent wrist, 45 degrees up. If you're looking at it this way, it looks like this. Some schools tend to extend along the bone of the arm up into the thumb, okay, and it's basically coming off the twisting part of the radius to the thumb and the hand position. Some schools tend to try and show some emphasis on grabbing, so they change their hand position. Generally, palm block. If you find your hands are doing this, concentrate on trying to press this part, the center part, out. Some schools have the idea of if there's a space, it's a credit card, can slide in and out, but this is not a good idea. So try and get this, okay? Try to keep the pinky in and emphasis on that or on that, okay? So that's the position of the Hike-uke. Obviously, in terms of the basics, I'm just going to use Zenka today, which keeps me in the frame. Some schools, let me go this way first. Across, and then a big round, forward and backward movement. Okay? So, forward, backward. Some schools, the circular motion tends to be a little bit more up, down. Okay? We know what the default is. Goju Ryu asking which one he wants. Right? Timing can vary according to school. We tend to focus on slower movement on the first one, and then an escalation of speed between number 2 and number 3. So, breathing in and out, forward, back, breathing, okay? This is a general acceptable way to do those movements. Slow, medium, fast, fast. Okay? And with breathing or without breathing, at an audible level, there's always breathing. We carry on with the kata, everything pretty much. The moment that heel touches the hands, become fists, and the elbow comes out. So generally, you don't close your hands before the kick has landed. As the kick lands, closing those hands, well, if you're understanding bunkai, you immediately understand, once I've kicked the person, I'm close enough to grab onto them, now I'm pulling the person in. And again, same idea with the kick-land combination, 5-movement combination. Ending of the kata. Stepping 45 to the back, cat stance. Stepping across, 45 to the opposite corner, front foot rotates to the front. Cat stance, generally, I'll move back a little bit, let's do this again. So if I'm going to mess with it out, I keep one foot straight and I just take it forward 1.5 paces, 1.5 feet, and I sit on the back leg. Watch out for the groin being open. So some schools have a very wide open groin, typically not Goju schools, by the way. Goju schools tend to understand the groin needs to be closed, but watch out for a very high toe. Alright, typically what you find is that the foot is placed comfortably on the ball of the foot on the ground, so that the foot is lightly touching the ground, approximately 10% weight and 90% weight. Most of our other stances are probably 50-50. But in this case, if we had to put a scale under my foot and I put my weight down onto it, it should register in the upper 60 kilograms on that leg. And if I put another scale in front of me and I push down on this scale should register probably about 10, 12 kilograms based on my body weight. So 90, 10, and the emphasis down. Okay? Some schools, this is okay. Some schools, you have to be up. Check what your sensei asks. Cat stance, the neck washidachi, there's a lot of weight on the back leg, and when you start, it is somewhat agonizing. So we tend to see a lot of people standing in the correct position with the dead straight leg. We need to, and the camera is in a great position for this, we need to encourage people to sit. And as you see me sitting, you see my head comes into frame. Sit on that back leg, like sitting onto a chair or doing a squat. Okay? And that builds the strength in this back leg. When I move through the block, 1, cover, cross, mawashi-uke, out. Hand directly above the knee, slightly inside the knee. Other hand on the center or on the shoulder. We'll cover the variants now. Cross, generally a full stride, which is approximately a Zen kutsudachi. The body turns, cover, block, out. To the front, down, or up, down, depending on the school's signature at the end of the kata. Breathing. And again, depending on the school's level of audibility, I'm doing it so you can hear it. Okay? My school generally no audible breathing, but breathing should be occurring. And that is inside the body. Very difficult to get right with children. So work on knowing when to teach it and how to teach it and what to say to people. And don't just do the kata and then they see you doing it one way and they say, but sensei, when you do the kata with us, you always breathe, therefore the breathing is there. And then somebody comes in and says, no, the breathing, no breathing, no breathing. I've spoken about this before. It doesn't make sense for us to try and hold our breath for 35 seconds. By the time the fight gets to the end, or the kata gets to the end, you're going to be totally hammered. Breathing is a natural process. We cannot live without oxygen. We can live without water or food for about 30 days. We can live without water for about 3 days. We can do about 3 minutes according to the guys who teach CPR, and then things start going wrong with the brain. So we're constantly wanting to breathe. It's a natural process. All right? The level of audibility is what is the concern. Okay? So again, go back to what your school says. I came from a school where audible breathing was the norm. I'm currently in an environment where audible breathing is not the norm. So that covers Geki Sai Dai Ichi and Geki Sai Dai Ni in a general sense. I'm just going to come a little bit closer on Hike-uke so that I can cover this. My general process for teaching mawashi is, imagine picking up a book. The book suddenly becomes very boring. Imagine a mosquito sitting on your nose, so you throw your hand across your face. Tell the mosquito to get lost. Hand comes to the chamber. Mosquito is sitting on the body. Hand comes down, scoots the mosquito away. Slide your hands out. Get a mosquito. So my children in the dojo learn. Pick up a book. Book is boring. Nose mosquito. Ribs mosquito. Dead mosquito. Alright, my mawashi-uke is tailored to fit within the framework of my body. I'm not blocking over my head, I'm not blocking my groin, I'm not blocking on the left or on the right side of my bodies. When I cover from here, bring this hand in progression, movements 1, 2, and the first half of movement 3 become one movement. Then the hands work together. And then out. So, 1, 2, and the first half of movement 3 together. Okay, movement 3 and 4 together. Finish and pull back together. And then out. Please watch my Sanjin video to see different ideas on where the hands go. Obviously, some schools will have a far more circular turning point here. And if I turn it sideways, it tends to be in front of the body, right up close to the body. What I'm doing tends to be out there with this hand and over here with this hand. Okay, hands finish equal. Always with mawashi-uke, bottom hand concentrate on the pinky. This is generally acceptable for most Goju schools. Top hand present by pressing the thumb. If you're doing shitori or shotokan, then this tends to come into the equation, which is the thumb side and the pinky side. But typically of Goju schools, especially Okinawan schools, present the full palm in these techniques. That's about it. The last thing is obviously the ending on the katas. Geki Sai Dai Ni, we start seeing the introduction of hands that have to meet. 1, circle, 2, 3. This is one school. If you know the different signatures at the end, you should be able to identify the school according to the signature. Hands coming together, dropping down. This is a different school. Hands meeting at the bottom, rising up, coming down. This is the third school. And these are the 3 principal schools that my karate has been based in for most of my life. And then some schools move to the bow, some schools move to a position like this, or position like this. Which brings me back to the last thing, which is actually the very beginning. Not all Goju schools start here. Some Goju schools start here. So, idea behind this is as your hands touch, your heels will press out, you will place the weight on the big toes, push the heels out. So, 1, 2, tighten, and pull down. And there's a lot of compression in the thorax as you do this. And you will be able to identify another mainstream school of Goju karate with the start by this particular starting mechanism. So that covers generally all the bits and pieces of Geki Sai Dai Ichi and Geki Sai Dai Ni. Covers subtleties and differences, and the whole idea in the kata would be, if you know the individual components, you will be able to do the kata completely. The only thing I haven't covered, which will be the last little section, would be the pattern. Okay, so the pattern of the kata, very simply. We'll use Geki Sai Dai Ni for the pattern. I'll make adjustments for Geki Sai Dai Ichi as I get there. So, turning to your left, 3 movements. 1, 2, 3. Half step moving to your right, 3 movements. 1, 2, and 3. To the front, 1, 2, kick, elbow, 2, 3, 4. Foot sweep, stomp, strike. To the back. Geki Sai Dai Ichi, 1 chest drop. Geki Sai Dai Ni, 3 Hike-uke. Kick, leg, elbow. 1, 2, 3. Foot sweep, strike. Geki Sai Dai Ni, 45 degrees to the corner. Geki Sai Dai Ichi, straight back, facing the front. Cover, block, change, cover, block, present to the front, finish, and done. Okay, I hope that works for everybody. The kata needs to have its speed built up over time and its energy levels built up over time as you become better and better at it, focusing more on doing the kata continuously from the beginning to the end. That's the last point. Arigato gozaimasu. Thank you very much. Please like and subscribe. Bye-bye.